Welcome to another edition of Drinking with Craig and Roger. I'm Roger.
And I'm Craig. It is my birthday, and yet again this year I plan to do the same thing I do every year. Blind taste 3 different sparkling wines and determine a winner for little to no reason. If you followed the channel, if you haven't, you can go check out our previous Battle of the Bubbly for my birthday, where we pitted a champagne, Mums, up against one from New Mexico, and then this Cristalino Cava, and the Cava won. The cheapest bottle with the whole thing won. So I figured this year we got to bring back the Cava to see how it fares.
See if it can maintain its supremacy.
Yes. And with that, we also have a champagne Sophie Baron Grand Reserve Brut. The quality standards are so strict in Champagne, France, it's almost impossible to not make something that's high quality. So I expect to enjoy this very much. And to kind of be what should be pretty close competition here to the champagne, I'm hoping, I have brought this Spanish Corpinnat. So this Corpinnat could technically be called a Cava if it wanted to, but a group of winemakers think that the term Cava is kind of being diluted a little bit, losing its standard because of some of the large industrialized producers that are putting stuff out, which still do taste quite
Sort
good.
of like the Tennessee whiskeys could be considered bourbon, but they don't want to be.
Yes.
They want to be Tennessee whiskey.
That's right. This is a Brut Nature, so it might be a little drier than the other two. And this is a 2013. It's vintage dated, and it was disgorged in 2021. So it's set on the lees for probably close to 8 years. So that contact with the dead yeast should give it the much coveted brioche slash what I call Parmesan cheese slash yeasty type nutty flavors that you can only get that way, which usually you do find in champagne as well. Yeah. And if I find it in anything cheaper than champagne, I am really happy. So I cannot wait to start this tasting. We're going to do it a little bit differently than last year. Last year we used 3 flutes, which work well for preserving the bubbles. They look really nice, and it presents an even experience to compare the 3. So we still do this. However, me and my wife have gone deep diving into wine, and especially sparkling wine, over the last year. And we did indeed discover that the glassware that you use makes quite a difference. So we are going to also use these Riedel Veritas champagne glasses, which are very good. Fellow YouTuber, German master of wine, Konstantin Baum, uses these as his universal wine glass, and they come highly recommended. But they work very, very well at breaking down and being able to really get the full flavor and aroma out of your sparkling wines. So I think we start with these 3 stems to give an even comparison between the 3 and see what we think. And then we really go deep diving one by one with this glass. And I think we're going to have a good time, and we will pick a winner.
All right.
Boop. All right, I gave you the silent but deadly. They have been poured.
Yes.
Let's start. This is 1, 2, and 3 from our left to our right, from your right to your left. So here we go. Let's start on 1 and see what we think.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention, the Cristalino is like $8 to $10 normally, and both of the others are right around 30 to 35-ish, I think, something like
35, maybe up to 40.
that. Okay, 30 to 40, something like that. They're about even on price, the other two. Cristalino is definitely cheaper. Okay. Ooh, that smells good.
Yeah.
And it has very fine bubbles. Compared to the other two, well, especially compared to the middle one, you should be able to see them on camera even like this. Much finer bubbles.
Are you sure?
I think so. The bubbles seem to be bigger and rounder in the middle glass, in glass number 2. And then fine again, but fewer bubbles in glass number 3.
I will say 3 has fewer bubbles. Fewer bubbles.
People, if you're able to see this any better on camera, the bubbles, zooming in there.
I just don't see much difference in the size of the bubbles.
Okay. It's the least important thing about it. Oh, that's good. Cheers. Fairly dry, a little tart, soft. Soft on the palate, I think. What do you think?
It's very. If it were a whiskey, I'd say smooth. Very
Yeah,
smooth.
it is very smooth. I agree with that. I get maybe a little bit of cream cheese and maybe a little bit of that bready, yeasty note on there.
Yeah, a little bit of yeasty note in the finish. But it's very
Soft.
fruity in the
Soft
front,
and fruity.
in the front.
And yeah, it has a very nice, pleasant, rounded finish there.
Creamy.
It's a good one.
Almost creamy.
Creamy, yeah. Almost creamy. That is a good one. We won't labor over these too hard.
No.
Number 2, okay. Much sharper nose, more grape. Like a dusty, dried grape.
A little drier smell to it.
Yeah, I'd say a bolder smell and a little drier.
Ooh,
Pretty good.
much more acidic, fruity.
Yeah, I think so. The first one had kind of a tart apple type of flavor, fruit flavor to it. Oh, that's good. Very good.
Oh, it has sort of a dry, acidic finish too.
Yes. And I'm going to say the fruit flavor in here almost is a little more like raisin, kind of, to me.
It feels
nice.
like a little more complicated, fruity taste.
Maybe a little honey in there. It's very nice. It's very good. It's pretty. It's a pretty.
This one has a simpler, cleaner taste than this one. It's got more complexity in its middle part.
Okay, number 3.
They all smell very much alike.
Yes, well, and I'm telling you, I think the flutes have something to do with this.
Maybe. Ooh, this is a tiny bit sweeter than the others, I think.
It's kind of in between the other two. It has more of that green apple type of flavor of number 1, a little bit, but it's a little more refined, I think. It kind of tastes like a blend of the other two. A little bit of yeasty smell, just a little bit. Yeah, a little more acid. And it has that kind of slightly bitter, what I would associate with sparkling wine in the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one kind of seems like a mix of the other two to me. What do you think? Where do you stand on this one?
I think you're right about that. This one, I think, has less of the yeasty taste to it than the other two.
You think so?
I think, yeah. It's in the finish.
I smell it for
right
sure.
in the finish,
Yeah, now once we're going back and forth between them like this, I'm starting to get a less clear impression of each one. They're tasting more and more like each other, which is tough. I think we need a little bit of a palate cleanse here. Let's try some truffle chips to kind of help refresh our palate.
They're very close. And that's a tribute to
They
the makers.
certainly seem to be right now. I'm not going to disagree with that. There's not one that's standing out big time. It'll also be a test of whether the glassware matters. We're all over the place with these right now. This is a mess.
Yeah, number 2, to my thinking,
Yeah.
number 2 is the brightest, fruity forward, acidic, clean taste like that. Number 3, rather,
Okay,
is
yes.
a little more subtle, and number 1 is the most, I think.
Yeah, right now I'm thinking
Well, it's
number 2 might be my favorite. Number 1 is probably my least favorite at the moment. I don't know how I feel about number 3.
yeah. Well, let's see if this makes any difference.
Ellen, why don't you pour us, we're going to turn around. Why don't you pour us number 1?
Okay.
So here we are. We have our Riedel Veritas champagne glass. Now I think we're going to be able to get into the nitty gritty on these bad boys.
Okay.
See what we think. Much more in the nose out of this.
Yeah, I
Personally.
I smell the bubbles.
Right. Very cream cheese brioche kind of. There's a lot of that stuff going on.
Yeah, it's sort of a very creamy.
Creamy. Very
It's not
smooth
that
and lighter. No, it's not. Well, I definitely enjoy it much more out of this glass, I think. I'm getting more out of it, and it's a more pleasant taste and smell. Oh
Well,
man, that is good.
It tastes very similar in the flute, but there's more of it here. There's more taste.
I'm getting way more of the yeasty, buttery, cheesy kind of notes, which I love. This is good. This is very good. Let's give this one a rating here. Let's give this one a score. We'll do the Vivino. Vivino rates it out of 5. 5.0 being the highest.
I'd say about 4.5.
Yeah, I'm right there. I think beautiful, beautiful, beautiful nose. Oh wow, it's
nice.
very pretty smelling. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.3.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good score.
All right.
Wine number 2.
My number 2.
And looking good.
I smell.
Smells good. Not much less of those yeasty, brioche, blah 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 notes I mentioned before. Some other kind of fruits in there. This is more fruit forward than the first one, I think.
Yeah, it's not as highly acidic fruit either.
It doesn't have as long of an aftertaste of a finish as number 1. It's not a bad thing. Okay, I do get the little bit of yeasty nose in there for sure. This one tastes a little more simple to me. More on that kind of, like I say, green apple, and maybe even a little bit of citrus notes, a little bit of lemon in there, something like that. What do you think? Where are you at with this one?
I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are your ratings?
This is a toughie.
Uh,
Where are you at?
Rated about 4.5 again.
I think I'm going to give this one, I still really like it. I may regret this, may look like an idiot, but I think I'm going to give it a 3.9.
Okay.
Nah, I'll give it a 4. Let's give it a 4. 4 seems about right. Caught that raisin there at the end. That little raisin note, I'm giving it a 4.1. Okay, number 3. Here we go. Let's
Number
dive
3.
in.
There we go.
It's very similar to the other two.
Yep.
This is hard, man. These are pretty close. I'm not gonna lie.
It still has more carbonation.
I like this.
It is more
nose.
carbonated than the other two.
You think
At this
so?
point. Oh yeah. At least that's what I'm getting when I sip it.
You're getting
getting the carbonation.
you feel like you're getting more bubbles
More
and
bubbles,
carbonation.
yeah. So maybe this was high test, 110 pounds per square
You're
inch.
right. Wow. You're right. Yes, it's very active with the bubbles on the palate. It's nice. It's nice.
It's not as fresh, fruity, acidic forward as
I don't think it is either.
I mean, it's more subtle,
I don't think it is either.
toned down a little bit maybe, or
It's
mellowed out a little bit.
Yeah, let's say mellowed out. I was gonna say, I think that the Corpinnat, which is a Brut Nature, hasn't really, obviously, shown its head. I haven't tasted one that I was like, whoa, it's much drier than the other two.
No.
Meaning, those other two Bruts must be pretty, on the lower end of the residual sugar,
That's what brut
of
means.
the dosage.
That's what brut means.
But it leaves, there are 2 levels of dryness drier than Brut. Okay, this smells very good. This had quite a nice nose just now. I got the brioche, I got the Parmesan cheese and the yeast.
Yeah, it's got a sort of a complexy type finish to it.
I think so.
Body.
You get an immediate little swell of fruit, of drier,
Drier,
tart
yeah,
fruit.
yeah, yeah.
like-
It's not acidic. It's just sort of mellowed out.
and then it just goes like, and it just kind of, in a way, dissolves on your palate. It just like fades out. It's very, very nice, smooth finish. And with that, I'm going to give my summary. I think number 1 and number 3 are my favorites. I'm going to score number 3.
Well, this one, I'm going to give 4.5. I'm going to. They're a little different.
Man literally can't taste the difference.
They are a little different but as far as quality and enjoyment with them, I like all of them about the same.
They
And
are
they're
all
very
amazing.
nice, yeah.
They're all very nice.
So I'm not going to do that.
Okay, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. we had a major malfunction and my phone stopped recording unbeknownst to us, and we missed about half an hour of the end of our video. We left off with me trying to decide my rating for wine number 3. And I gave it a 4.2. Gave it a 4.2. You gave it your typical 4.5.
Because I couldn't. They're all about the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we guessed wine number 1 was the Corpinnat because it tasted the most yeasty.
You did that.
I did. And I thought that that was the Corpinnat because it had 8 years on the lees.
Then we decided that number 2 was younger and maybe a little more vibrant, and I like that. You didn't. But
Number 2 won the 2022 Roger Vogel Birthday Awards as Best Sparkling Wine. Number 1 was the Champagne. It was my favorite. It is not what either of us thought it was, but boy, did it represent. Champagne brought all the flavors champagne is supposed to bring. And number 3, of course, was the Corpinnat. So this was my number 2 for sure. And it was very good. It was kind of like a mix between number 1 and number 2, which makes sense. It was like from the same region as this, probably somewhat similar grapes, but it was made and aged a little closer to this. But I thought that this had all those, yeasty type flavors. It did not, but it was a great sip. So what is our summary here?
I think we have to recommend all 3 of these as a
100% recommend all 3.
Yeah, and again, those of you who are value-minded, the Cristalino always comes in around 90.
It's 100% recommend on value.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. It is the only wine under $10 that I have found that is very good. Every other wine, no matter what it is, still sparkling, whatever. If it's under $10, it sucks. It tastes completely artificial, or at best is 100% mediocre and drinkable. That's the best you're gonna get, is something you're like, I could drink this.
That's it for this time. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It has been a
You're
happy
turning
birthday.
the perennial Jack Benny age, 39. He was 39 for about 30 years. And if you have any questions or comments, if you want us to explore any other wines for next year, please send us and let us know, and we'll make every effort to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to battle that stuff out.
So, cheers.
Cheers.